Before we get started, let me ask you a quick little question. Would you rather learn from somebody who's already done it, or would you rather just do it all yourself? That's a stupid question, because why else would you be here? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Some of the lessons that I learned during a calorie deficit that I want to share and pass on to you, young grasshopper, or older grasshopper, whichever kind of grasshopper you are. That has helped me tremendously in a calorie deficit, and maybe even give you a little bit of cushion to not feel like you have to have it all figured out right away. So we're going to talk about some things that are great strategies for getting into a calorie deficit, for staying in a calorie deficit, for making sure you lose body fat, and ultimately being able to sustain one and stay consistent. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The very first one is going to be start off with an aggressive calorie deficit. I know you're thinking, wait, Shane, didn't you tell me in the last video about how to do a calorie deficit, which if you haven't checked out, it's gonna be linked some up here, right, video guy? Or wait, are you over here today? I don't know, because he doesn't exist. Make sure that you go and check that video out if you haven't already, but in that video I tell you, hey, pick a calorie deficit that's sustainable. Yes, long term, but in the beginning you can take advantage of how motivated you are to lose body fat and go a little bit aggressive for 1 to 2 weeks, and then dial it back and start cruising. Be able to eat a little bit more calories, stay in that, about 1 pound, maybe 2 pounds of weight loss per week, depending on your body weight. Remember, it's 0.5 to 1% of your current body weight. So my current body weight is 157. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 0.7 to like 1.59 or something like that. I'm not good with math. Don't rely on my numbers, but just use 0.5%, between 0.5% and 1% to figure out what that is for you, and try to stay within that range. If you're going over that range in your aggressive calorie deficit phase, great. Keep losing body fat, enjoy it. Eventually that's gonna catch up with you though. That's why we only do it for 1 to 2 weeks. And then after that, we dial it back. We eat a little bit more calories. We still manage our weight so that we're in that range that is optimal for losing body fat sustainably. And you're good to go. Why aren't you tracking my face? There we go. All right, the second thing to keep in mind is it's very good to track, but it is not good to obsess. So as a busy dad, as somebody who's out there in the world doing other things other than just trying to lose body fat, you might not have access to a food scale, or you might not have access to food that's going to be completely macro friendly. You might be in social situations where it's like, here's a bunch of food and none of it really works that good for me. Relax, don't worry about it. It's not something to panic over. There are some things that we can do preemptively, and there's some things that we can do at restaurants. They're gonna make this a lot easier. And we'll talk about that in a completely different video, because it's like at least a 20 or 30-minute video, but here's a quick snapshot. When you go to restaurants, if you're gonna get something like veggies or a salad, make sure you get dressing on the side. Look and even talk to the waiter and be like, hey, all this stuff on your menu is awesome, but I'm really trying to lose some body fat right now. I'm trying to get shredded for summer. I'm trying to get that, guns out, suns out kind of thing. Is there any way that the chef could just make me a chicken breast without oil, some regular old white rice, and whatever veggies you got, and don't put any butter or anything on them? Do you really want that?
Yes, stop trying to tempt me with the awesome food you already have here.
So that's one option. You could pick smarter options when you're going out to eat. Look at the menu ahead of time. Pre-plan all the meals you're going to have outside of the house. I'm not saying like you gotta get down to the nitty-gritty calories, but like look at the menu and be like, yeah, I could probably pick that, or I could pick that, or don't be afraid to substitute things out. I go out to breakfast with my mom at least once a month, and we go out and have some sort of breakfast. Yes, there's tons of pancakes and hash browns and things like that. I just get a side of fruit with some sort of omelet with, so there's ways that you can make this work. Don't obsess, but have strategies that allow you to navigate the real world, because you are a real world person. You're not a bodybuilder who can spend all of their time training, sleeping, relaxing, and eating. You are a dad. You are somebody who has tons of other responsibilities that are arguably more important than losing body fat. You aren't gonna be like all of the influencers, all the fitness professionals out there that make YouTube videos and do fitness, and that's it, that's their job. You have a much different life, and you have to navigate that life. So again, track, stay diligent, be strategic, but don't obsess. All right, this next tip might be the most important one, and that is plan and have strategies for the weekend. If I had to put money on anyone trying to lose body fat, I don't care if you're old, young, male, female, it doesn't matter. And the bet was this person is going to gain weight and overeat on the weekend, even though they were super diligent during the week. I would always put money on that. I would put thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't have that kind of money, but I would put it down and I would become a billionaire. Because one of the most reliable things that I've ever seen being a coach is people that are super strict Monday through Friday, and then Friday night comes and it's like all bets are off. They just lose their mind. They drink and eat as much as they want, and they're like, yeah, you did. Why? Why did you, instead of having 3 tacos that was completely within your calorie amount, why did you go out and have 6? And then why did you have 3 beers? And then why did you kiss that donkey that's over in the corner? None of it makes sense. So that's an exaggeration, but my point is that a lot of times what ends up happening is that we get so strict during the week that we totally lose sight of what's going on the weekend. And it's not just from a calorie reduction standpoint. We're all on a calorie deficit. We're all trying to lose body fat. What happens is the weekends are a much different type of lifestyle, right? You're with your family. You might be eating more often or have more access to food. It might be harder to resist. The options might not be macro friendly for your goals. What you have to do is you have to preemptively, on your own, plan for these sorts of things to happen and either bring your own food, set up a situation where the food is going to be more ideal for your goals. Yes, you might not be able to, I'm not saying bring your food scale and track everything at the party, the friend's, baby shower or whatever, but I am saying go in with the mindset that you are going to have to be a little bit more diligent with what you do. Now, I get that this could be extra stress, right? But we're all adults here. We can have conversations with other adults that say, hey, Susan, I really think that cake that you made is awesome, but I'm trying to lose body fat right now, and I don't want to consume that right now because it's not going to fit within my goals.
And Susan's going to be like, well, you just don't love me.
It's like, that's correct. You're my wife's friend. I'm already married, and I'm sure your cake is wonderful, but I'm not going to eat it. And then she goes and talks shit to your wife, and your wife goes, maybe you should grow the fuck up, Susan. He's just trying to lose body fat. That's how that's going to go in the real world. If you have somebody that's great, that's their lifestyle, that's what they think, and that's, Susan can fuck off. But anyway, my point is that on these weekends, you have to just figure out, I have to take this into my own hands. I have to do my best to make this work, but I don't want to completely jeopardize my time with my family. And whether, whoever you're married to, have a conversation before your fat loss diet and be like, hey, I'm going to do my best to integrate what we already do in our daily lives with what I'm trying to do with my calorie deficit, but I may need some support in certain areas, maybe specifically the weekend, where I'm gonna need to try to dial it in and not go off the rails. And 9 times out of 10, if you're eating meals with your family, if you're eating at home, even if you're eating out, you can control how many calories you're consuming. Your macros might not be perfect like they are during the week when you have complete control, but you can still manage it to get through the weekend, get back to Monday, and you'll be fine. So the most important thing is don't go hog wild, don't go off the rails, just do your best to control what is going on the weekends, and you're gonna have 10 times better results. All right, this next tip is something I've talked about a couple of different times, but it's one of the most important things you should do, and that is managing hunger through the food choices that you make. I am a big proponent of having as much flexibility as you possibly can with what you eat during a calorie deficit, because the more flexibility you have, the less restricted you feel, and the more opportunities you have to have variety. I'm not a variety person. I pretty much eat the exact same thing every day, so this is really easy for me, but I still have to try to figure out foods that are going to make me feel more full so that between meals, I'm not just going, I can't wait to eat again, I can't wait to eat again, because that's also not healthy. If you're constantly thinking about food, there's going to be some of that to some extent, right? Because you're thinking about your next meal. But if all you think about is food and you can't focus on anything else, you're going to get fired from your job, your wife's going to leave you, your kids are going to hate you.
You only care about what you eat.
And you're going to be like, relax, little shit. I'm at 6% body fat. I could give a fuck what you think about me. That's the dangers of being at 6% body fat, by the way. Nobody talks about that, but that's a real thing. So here are some ideas. The first thing you should think about is every meal should have a major source of protein. I don't care if that's a powder, I don't care if that's a steak, I don't care if that's a chicken breast or whatever you want to eat. You have to have protein. Hitting your protein goal is a non-negotiable when you're in a calorie deficit. It is just, if you don't do it, what are you even doing? Why are you even in a calorie deficit? Why are you even trying to lose body fat if you're not going to prioritize protein? The second thing to keep in mind is have as much flexibility between carbs and fats as you want. If you're more of a I feel full on carbs person, eat more carbs. If you're a I feel more full on fats, eat more fats. Find a balance between the two. I'm the kind of person that protein, veggies, and fats keeps me full the longest. So I just try to prioritize most of my meals around those things until I get into the evening where I want a little bit more carbohydrates. I want to feel a little bit more relaxed. Carbohydrates have this natural effect to kind of relax you and reduce cortisol. And cortisol is one of those things where if you have it running 24/7, you're not going to sleep well, you're not going to recover well. So it's about modulating the different effects of food on those things. Totally different video, but my point is you want to try to do those things. Proteins and veggies should always be have some sort of existence within your meal to some extent, or throughout your day at least. Like for example, I have a salad or a broccoli salad at lunch, that's veggies. I have a chicken breast with that, that's protein. And then I have some sort of dressing, usually a low calorie fat-based dressing, which is gonna be like a Caesar or something like that. I'm fine until my next meal or my next snack where I need to get some more protein in. So thinking about food that way is the more you can load up on low calorie, high volume foods, things like fermented vegetables. Pickles is another good one. If you like pickles, that's perfect. Your typical, other veggies like carrots and broccoli, and I mean, I could go on and on and on. Fruits, strawberries, blueberries, watermelon. I mean, look up high volume, low calorie foods. You're gonna get a ton of different foods that you can eat. And you could eat like a ton of it for like 50 calories, which is insane. Like in terms of value, that's insane. Fill up on those foods. Don't be afraid to buy all of that stuff and eat it when you get hungry. When you're hungry, the goal is not to starve yourself because that's just gonna make it worse. The goal is to feed yourself with high volume foods that are also moderate to low calories so that you can stay within your calorie goals while also not feeling miserable the whole time. Feeling miserable, it does not have to be a part of a calorie deficit. At some point it may be, especially if you're doing that aggressive phase, like in the beginning it might be really, really tough. But if you're in a calorie deficit and you are miserable every waking hour, your calorie deficit is way too high, the foods you're eating are probably not keeping you full, you need to make some adjustments. All right, next tip is stay hydrated. And no, I don't just mean drink water, I mean get an electrolyte. Electrolytes are very important. People think that just drinking water is what's going to keep them hydrated, and yes, that's part of it, but hydration is more than just getting water in you. It's about keeping water in your muscle cells and in your body, and the only way you can do that is through minerals and vitamins. Most electrolyte powders that you can buy for relatively cheap on the internet, and I'll recommend a couple right now, is LMNT. That one's a little bit more expensive, but I love them. It's like 1,000 milligrams of sodium per packet, which might seem like a lot, but if you put it in like a 32-ounce jug and you drink it throughout the day, that's going to do wonders for feeling deprived or feeling depleted during a calorie deficit. So yes, you're going to feel depleted during a calorie deficit because you're lower in calories, but it could also be that your minerals and your hydration is pretty poor. So drink water with electrolytes. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium are probably the best combination of that, and LMNT does a really good job of making sure you have all of that in there. Again, this is not a paid sponsorship, although if they want to pay me, I wouldn't mind because I use their product all the time. But I did a lot of research on trying to find a product that was good, and LMNT, also known as Element. I just say LMNT because it sounds like, like TMNT, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Anyway, that's beyond the point. What are we doing? What are we recording right now? Does anyone know? Okay, great. So yeah, hydration is super important, and during a calorie deficit, I would say it's probably even more important because if you're somebody who's like a low carb person, you're gonna need even more hydration. Just make sure that you're doing something to include minerals in your water and not just drink pure water. Another one that I like is just the basic Gatorade Zero hydration packs that you can buy at like Walmart or pretty much any grocery store. Those are also fine. Those stats are a little bit less impressive in terms of like what you need. It's only like 75 milligrams of sodium, nothing too crazy, but it might be a good starter kit, so to speak. And then as you get a little bit more like deeper and deeper into your calorie deficit, it might be worth looking into something that's a little bit more on the like science, we care about you consuming this end of things. All right, the next thing to keep in mind is yes, it's important to train hard, but expect to be more fatigued than you normally are. Obviously, you're in a calorie deficit, you're consuming less calories, your body's having to use body fat for energy. Body fat in terms of energy for a weight training session is not gonna be that ideal. Just a quick little science lesson, your body prefers the energy from carbohydrates because it's more readily available and it's easier to break down and use into energy. So that's why your body prioritizes carbohydrates, which is also why when you're lifting weights, it's important to have carbohydrates in your diet because it's going to actually fuel your workouts, make them more efficient, and allow you to train harder. So all that being considered, you are still in a calorie deficit, you still are going to have an energy depletion, your workouts aren't gonna feel as amazing as they normally do. Now, I do have a little hack for this, which I'll talk about at the end of this little section, but keep in mind that your workouts are not going to be as awesome. You're not gonna be as strong. You might not be able to last as long in the bedroom. What did I just say? In the bedroom? In the weight room, you might not be able to go as long trying to do your workouts as you normally would. There's so many sexual innuendos that are popping in my brain as I say long and room and all these different words that, yeah. Anyway, so you're gonna be fatigued, expect that, do your best to just get through your workout, have a structured plan, have a good weightlifting program, but don't expect to hit new PRs. Don't even expect to always hit your reps every single time. That's one of the reasons why I like ranges. If I'm hitting between 8 and 12 and I'm doing as much as I can in the calorie deficit and I'm maybe like, 2 to 3 reps away from failure, boom, I'm doing everything that I can, everything I need to worry about. My goal during a calorie deficit is not to like build a tremendous amount of muscle because I just don't have the resources on board to actually make that happen. It's to maintain the muscle I already have or the muscle that I built during my bulking phase. And if you're a relatively new dad or you're a dad who's been on a perma bulk for the last 20 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You probably have plenty of muscle mass just from eating and lifting and not really giving a crap, but now it's time to strip off that fat. So just do your best to manage your workouts. Don't try to set new PRs, don't try to go overboard. Just do whatever you can to maintain a consistent weightlifting schedule, preserve your muscle mass while you're in a calorie deficit and come out the other end not looking like a shriveled. All right, the last lesson that I learned is not necessary for you to do, but I would highly recommend that you try it if you haven't already, and that is weighing yourself every single day. Yes, I know, weighing yourself every single day can have emotional and mental fatigue, even depression sometimes. You step on the scale, you feel great, you're 2 pounds heavier. You're like,
What the fuck?
how does this make any sense? I feel great, I feel leaner, my stomach feels like it's gone away. How am I 2 pounds heavier? What you weigh on the scale is gonna change from day to day, from minute to minute, to hour, all right? It's the averages that matter. I'm gonna put a little image on the screen right now that shows you just what my scale weight has looked like since April 3rd. Today is June 5th. So it's been about 64 days in a calorie deficit, weighing myself every single day. There was a week in there where I was on a work conference, so I couldn't bring my scale. That would just be a little too much. And so I don't have numbers for that. But for the most part, what you're seeing right now is a downward trend. A downward trend is all we care about when it comes to weight loss. I don't care what your first weigh-in looks like, what your second weigh-in looks like, what your third. If the graph that I'm showing right now has a line through it, you'll see that there's a ton of different points that are above that line. But what matters is what does the trend look like? The trend is going down. So from up here to this side of the screen, you'll start to see that that arrow is pointing down. And that's all you care about. All you care about is the trend is going down. If your weight trend looks like a straight line, you're not in a calorie deficit and you're not losing any body fat. And in the worst case scenario, if your weight starts here and by the end of the month it's up here, you're in a calorie surplus, my friend. I don't know what you're doing with your calories, but you need to adjust them so it looks more like this. So it's the reason why I like weighing myself every single day is because it gives you so much data to then after a month, you get to go, wow, this is plenty of data for me to understand what my weight is doing. And it also teaches you a lot about how weight fluctuations work, right? Like the example I gave earlier, you wake up in the morning, you feel amazing, but you step on the scale, you're like, how am I 2 pounds heavier? Like this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. It's water weight. How much food you're eating can also contribute. Have you shit recently? Like I remember one time I weighed myself and I was like, damn, how am I 1.5 pounds heavier? Oh, I haven't shit for 2 days. Sure enough, 2 hours later, I took a shit, weighed myself again, boom, that weight was pretty much gone. I mean, it wasn't completely gone because a 1.5 pound shit would be, God, that would be, you might need to call a hospital. But for the most part, it was mostly that. So don't worry about the day-to-day fluctuations, like from Monday to Tuesday, from Tuesday to Wednesday, don't worry about that. Focus on what your weight looks like on average per week. And the way that you can get some really accurate data is by weighing yourself every single day. Now, really quickly, how should you weigh yourself? It needs to be the same every single day. It needs to be after you wake up and after you use the bathroom. So you wake up, you go take a shit, you pee, whatever you gotta do, whatever's in you, try to get it out. Don't force it out. Don't get a hernia or something like that. Get it out of your body, step on the scale, weigh yourself. If you have a phone app that tracks it, I really recommend getting these smart scales where you can it just goes straight to your phone and it tracks it for you. You don't even have to think about it. You get off the scale and guess what? You move on with the rest of your day because you don't need to think about it anymore. You don't need to make any adjustments. There are too many guys that will be like, oh my God, I weighed 2 pounds heavier today. I need to fast. And it's like, no, bro, you don't. Just eat your normal calories, eat your normal stuff. You don't need to make reactionary decisions based on what you weighed in the morning, all right? Just weigh yourself and move on. After 2 weeks, you're gonna know whether or not you're eating too much or too little. And 2 weeks is a reasonable amount of time to figure that out. And no, going faster isn't gonna make it happen any better. Part of being in a calorie deficit is getting your calorie deficit number, weighing yourself every single day, doing that for 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you'll look at it and you go, I was really accurate with how many calories I ate. I was really accurate with tracking myself, and it looks like I lost 1.5 pounds. Just do that for as long as you can, up to like 12 to 16 weeks. Once you figure out what your calorie deficit is and it's working, it's just about managing it. So if you're at work and you have people that you manage, it's the exact same thing. You go in, you work with these people, you manage all of the different things that they're dealing with, and you just do that over and over and over. It's the exact same thing. In fact, if you're an accountant or you're an engineer or you're someone who manages people really well, you probably didn't even need to watch this video because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Managing the process is the most difficult part. There's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows, and there's gonna be moments where it feels freaking amazing and you could do it forever. The most important thing is you try to monitor the highs, monitor the lows, try to compress everything to be sort of like in the middle here. That's how you have success with a calorie deficit. All right, well, that is my video today. I hope you enjoyed those 8 lessons. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite lesson is and which one you think you're gonna walk away with valuing the most. As always, if there's anything I can help you with, you can also put that in the comment section down below or reach out to me on social media. I got my social media links on the YouTube channel. And last but not least, subscribe, right? You just watched this entire video and you're not subscribed? Are you okay? Do we need to have a one-on-one talk? Do I need to bring the manager in? Do I need to get my video guy who doesn't actually exist in here to talk to you about this? Why aren't you subscribed? I'm not trying to pressure you or anything. I mean, I am, I think. But I think it would really benefit you because then you can see all the videos that I come out with. Why am I still talking about this? Just in the video, cut, edit this out.